All right, good morning, and thank you for coming to this virtual session. What we'll be talking about for the next 30 minutes or so is really how we can optimize farming operations using all of the data that's available to us. So agriculture has come a long way in terms of the data we have, and the struggle we can run into is how do we make use of it all? Can it help us run our operation better, smoother, more profitable? I think that's what excites me about Granular Business. It helps us simplify the way we plan and communicate, allows us to make real-time decisions and make use of all this data that's available to us. So before we get too far into it, I'll talk a little bit about myself. I do have a puppy running around in the background, so we'll see how all that works. But I come from a long line of Belgian farmers that actually continue farming in the forest area today. I live in Sombra, little town in southwestern Ontario, with my husband and 3 kids, and I'm surrounded by about 80 other Klompstras. So I've got this really great family community. Because of my love of data and numbers, I actually went to Waterloo and graduated as a mechanical engineer. And I've had a really amazing career, spanning from traditional engineering to marketing for Pioneer, digital consulting. And now I'm just excited to be using my kind of love of farming and data to help growers optimize their operations. So it just feels like kind of the right place for me, and I'm super excited about it. So you might be thinking, what is Granular and what is it all about? Well, we're focused today on Granular Business. So how can we ditch the complexity, make life simpler, keep control of our inventory, and become more efficient? So this is our focus today, but that's not all that Granular does. We've got a couple other cool digital tools to help in different ways. Granular Insights really helps us during the growing season. We use satellite imagery to kind of think, where do we need to focus? What parts of our field might be changing or need our attention, so it can help us scout in season scouting. Granular Agronomy helps us in a more of an agronomic perspective, as you can imagine, by using different layers. So how do I layer in satellite imagery, for example, my yield maps from previous years, my kind of field information, and make better use of that to do potentially variable rate seeding, variable rate fertility. So Granular Agronomy is pretty cool that way. How do I make most use of my agronomic data? But we're focusing today on Granular Business. Really, how do we run our operation and make use of data science as well as our historical knowledge on the farm to really optimize what we do. Okay, so really in kind of a nutshell, we can use Granular Business to help growers get unprecedented control over their operation. We know kind of in our hearts and our history how we run our farm. As we think about maybe the next generation coming on board or new people joining us, how do we help transition some of that knowledge, and not only transition the knowledge, but all the data that goes along with farming to really help us get control, not tell us what to do. We don't want software to be like, you should do this, but how do we use software to help us make decisions real time, right now, what's happening. It's especially useful in the heat of the moment, kind of where we are right now, when we're harvesting and things are going all over the place, and who's where and what equipment's happening, what happened to that weigh scale ticket. So we're in the heat of the moment right now, and it helps us plan and be more strategic and more focused when things get busy. So some great reasons to use it, and I'll show you. We'll get right in the tool here in a couple slides or in a couple moments. So here's a couple different images, and if we look at the left-hand side, this is kind of how we may operate in a traditional environment. So without something kind of holding all the pieces together. So we do potentially some planning, right? In the winter time, we do some planning on paper and Excel, maybe a whiteboard. And then when it comes time for planting, we may do verbal work assignments. Might be on a Post-it note, might be in a text, might be a shared spreadsheet, but we share that information in some way. And then if I'm out like planting, for example, I might write down what I actually do. There is likely going to be machine data, and all that stuff may get put into a spreadsheet. And then we wait a little bit. We start to pull information, build reports. What's this all saying? Some time may pass, and then we probably understand how profitable were we sometime in the winter. So this is kind of the way things can look right now, not across the board, but that's the way we've seen things historically kind of operate. And then if we move to the right-hand side, we try and simplify things with Granular. So how do we plan and understand what we're going to do in the winter, understand what inventory we need, what's going to happen when, so that when it comes time to the in-planting, in-season harvest time, we're able to just validate that against what's actually happening, use mobile data, mobile apps and machine data to communicate with our sort of central system. And so we have a picture throughout the year of how we're doing right now. And so it really kind of pulls it all together. We lose the wait time and we're able to make those kind of real-time decisions with all this data that's kind of all over the place. I'm going to skip that one because I've talked about that a little bit. And so usually when I'm doing this exact slide deck, I'm sitting one-on-one with somebody, and so we can have a conversation. Granular Business is big and has many different ways it can help growers. Here's 4 buckets where we usually find that the biggest impact. And if I was sitting with you one-on-one, we would actually kind of dive in and I would guide the demo based on that. I'm going to just kind of talk broadly and briefly on each of these. But we find that, so on the left-hand side, that Granular Business can help become better communicators. And that's, as I was mentioning earlier, kind of in the heat of the season when it's all chaotic and everyone's running around. How can we really communicate well, not only what has to be done, but what has been done by equipment, so that we have a real-time view of what's happening. And we can even communicate things like, what should the tank mix be? What equipment do we want to use for harvest? So we can really kind of communicate some great details. Another piece that is helpful with Granular Business, and not for everyone, but certainly this resonates with some folks, is how do we track our input and crop inventory levels real time? So with Granular Business, we're able to know what we need for the next growing season and then make use of bulk purchases. So we can kind of keep control of things that way. And we also know from a crop inventory level, where are we? How much have we harvested? What contracts have we delivered on? Do we want to use our machine data as one point of truth, or do we want to use the scale ticket? So we really get a very, very good sense of what's going on in inventory and how full bins are, how much I've delivered. So really, really nice way of tracking inventory, both inputs and crop. And then this one, I think, resonates most with me. Maybe it's because I have my engineering background and just really wanting to know, like the data, is the cost of production. So we're able to track down cost of production field by field. And it really helps you make decisions. So we can push back when we're renting land and they want an increase in land, because we can see, here's what's actually happening. We can understand what's going on field by field, and then allow us to make some decisions kind of with our heart and with our head. And then finally, how do we make use of all this data? So not just understanding cost of production, not just understanding our inventory and being better communicators, but how do we use this? When do I know when to lock in on a contract and make the best marketing decisions? So it's kind of just, it pulls it all together. So if we were sitting next to each other, I would ask you kind of which resonates most, and we would guide our conversation that way. Instead, I'm talking kind of high level and sort of quickly, and I'll touch on each of these. So with that, I'm going to just hit escape here and do a couple little screen shifts, and then we'll get right into the tool. So just give me 1 minute as I escape and stop sharing. Okay. So hopefully now you're able to see. Okay, you're able to see. I've got the thumbs up from my buddy Nicole. And this is the actual tool. So Granular Business runs in 2 ways. It runs both on your computer as well as a cell phone. And I'll talk a little bit about what that looks like here shortly. But what we're looking at here is the overall dashboard. This is an operation. So it's Corn Belt Farms. It's a US operation, and many of us play in this operation. It's our demo account. So we're going to see some funny numbers, but try not to let that alarm you too much. And when you're in this dashboard, it begins, this is like giving you an overview of what's happening in the operation. And it begins at the very highest level. So this whole line right here is letting us know what our forecasted net profit is, what's our total revenue, total costs, and we're farming in this operation, it's 12.3 thousand acres. I'm going to hone in on the word forecast for a little bit because it's really important. And the word forecast, what it does is it blends actual costs, and if I just focus on costs for a minute, it blends actual costs. So what are our costs that have happened so far to right now, and what are our planned costs, so that we get the closest estimate to our total costs for this current moment. So that's what the word forecasted is. Actuals to right now and planned going forward, because the actuals haven't happened yet. So that's what we mean by forecasted, and it's important because that's what gives us the real live, changing day by day as things actually happen, as they actually happen view of where we're at. So we start with the dashboard at very high level. This is how we're operating. And then it starts to break things down a little bit. So we start to break down by crop profitability. So rather than just seeing the whole operation, now I'm starting to see a view crop by crop. So in those 12,000 acres, here's what my commercial corn is doing. The green is my forecasted revenue. That's based on, if I haven't done any harvesting, that'll be based purely on plan. If I have started harvesting, it'll be a combination of what's actually been delivered to a contract and what's yet to come. So that's our forecast revenue. And then our forecasted costs are like I described. What have I spent to right now and what's planned to be spent? So I'm able to get a live view of, in this case, my corn profitability by acre. I could also flip to per unit if I want to, but I'll just stick per acre. So high level view, we can see we're doing quite well, a little bit better in our soybeans at this moment than we are in corn. And we can also see things like, hey, I don't actually maybe feel super great about this alfalfa. There may be good reasons for it, and we'll dive into that in a bit. But we can sort of high level see what's going on here. So I might be growing it just for livestock or other reasons, but we can see that where we're doing well and where we have some gaps. Later on, we'll jump into here, and this is where we can get even more detailed. So I'll hold off for now because I'm just going to stick high level with the dashboard. And as we move down, and I love the way these two are set side by side. So right here, this is break even by crop. Again, thinking about where are we right now as far as yields, pricing, and all that stuff. What are my break even points? So if I'm going to lock into a contract, I know what I need to get as a minimum. So that's what we see here. And then located right beside there is a crop contract. So I've added all my contracts in here as I sign them for now, for next year, whatever the length of the contract may be. And then I'm able to see how I'm delivering against those contracts. So in this case, I've got 5% of my commercial corn delivered against a crop contract. We can also see our crop breakdown. So this is starting to make me feel a little bit better about my alfalfa situation, because I can see I've only got 2% of my overall acreage is in alfalfa. So that's maybe not such a bad thing. And then going down a little bit farther, also back to the kind of the contracting perspective, we can see how we're delivering. So I have in this operation a contract with Cargill, and I can see based on my delivery tickets and as my trucking folks are completing these operations, I can see this ticking along. So I can see I've delivered 24% against my Cargill contract. I can see soybeans, I'm halfway through my ADM contract, and we can actually, I'll go in a little bit into the contract manager because it's super cool where we can start to play some what if and when do I lock in kind of analysis. So we'll go there in a bit. And then the last few little pieces we see here, this is task progress. These are the big tasks that are happening right now. As you can imagine, a lot of soybean harvesting, a lot of corn harvesting, so we can see where we're at high level. We can see running averages. So here's a really great example of how this is very obviously a demo account. These are crazy, and so don't be alarmed. This is the don't be alarmed part of the session. It's just because people like me will go in and complete something really quickly and it messes everything up. And then very finally, in this dashboard, we see our total farm balance. In this case, we're looking at 3 bins. Where are we at? How full are they? How much room do we have remaining? So if inventory is kind of something that's near and dear to our heart, this gives us a quick level of what that looks like, and then we can click into our inventory balances to dig in a bit more. So very, very, very briefly, that's what the dashboard looks like. I'm going to take a quick drink of water, and then I'm going to get into a bit more detail. So you might be thinking by this point, okay, that's all great, but how on earth does all this stuff get in, and what kind of what do I do to have to make this happen? So let me start to go into that. So if you were to sign up with Granular Business, the first thing that would happen is we connect with someone like my colleague, Jace. He's a customer success manager, and it's his goal to really understand how you want to use Granular Business and how to optimize it for you. So he connects with you and really walks through step by step how to make this happen. And we begin over here in the setup tab. So we start, and the way I like to think of the setup is the way you run your operations, maybe like a whole puzzle that all kind of comes together. Well, we want to feed into Granular Business. What are all the puzzle pieces that go to make your operation successful? So we start with inputs. And we get, I'm not going to click through all these because there's quite a few, but I'll just show you, click around a couple so you can get a sense of what this looks like. Okay, so here's where I would add all my seeds. Now, this is a very big operation, so don't be alarmed by all these corn hybrids, for example. But I would enter in my seed, chemical, fertilizer mixes. That would all get added here. And then, of course, my crops. What do I expect at the planting stage to be selling crops for? Fields is very important. We need to know where are the field boundaries. What do those look like? So we enter in fields, and we can draw those in or import them if they exist somewhere. Entities is kind of cool because maybe I farm with my brother. We divide up land in a certain way, so we're able to kind of flag that so we can segregate the analysis, right? We can say, okay, what's the brother's data looking like? What's mine? And we're able to kind of look at things by entity. Inventory location is kind of cool. I'm going to click in there because there's some neat things I just wanted to share. So inventory is where you will drop in all your locations, both on the farm, maybe third party. You might have stuff in suppliers, so we can see that all build out here. One thing our livestock folks really get excited about is the fact that we also track what's happening in a manure pit. So as you're adding to the manure pit, it's tracking the quantity that's there. When you do the analysis on, what exactly does that look like, you can enter that in here and then, of course, consume it as fertilizer throughout the season. So it does a really nice job of tracking, manure volume, manure specifications, and then consumption. And I'll show you where we can make use of that a little bit. And then, of course, there's land agreements. What are you renting? Is it shared? What does that all look like? We enter that in so we can understand that. People, so who helps you in the operation? Maybe it's just yourself, and that's fine. Or maybe there's a few people that help you. What are some hourly costs and some people information? Likewise with equipment, are you renting? Do you own it? What are some costs associated with that equipment? And then we can connect into financial accounts as well. So these are all like the puzzle pieces, right? So we've got all these puzzle pieces sitting all over the table now. And then in order to build, we go over to operations. In order to build the plan for, like, let's say next year, we go and we begin with a crop plan. Oops, let me see. Oh, I think I did it. Okay. So if we were to start from scratch, we would build a new crop plan, and that's where we're taking all those puzzle pieces and starting to build what this is actually going to look like. And this makes me super excited because here's where I think the magic happens, right? Because you start to take the knowledge that, maybe mom and dad have for the past 40, 50 years, and you start to build it into what does this really look like? So I just opened one, soybean plant 2. If this were me, I might call it something a little more insightful, like soybean plant sandy loam, but this is called soybean plant 2, so I accept that. And we just drag and drop all the different pieces of what happens throughout the season into how exactly, with my history of this land, how would what does the plan look like? And you can see as we start to build this out, so you're just like dragging and dropping different pieces for this plan, the costs start to build, right? So you can see as we build this out, here's all my different costs for all those pieces, all those puzzle pieces now have little costs on them, as well as my revenue. So based on what I'm estimating, my yield and what I'll sell it for, I can see revenue. So we already start seeing, by just doing this planning bit, costs starting to happen. Once we build our plans, so there's quite a few in here because it's a demo model, you may just have 2 or 4, whatever it might be. Then the next thing we need to do is assign those plans to a field. Let me just get there. Okay, so we're getting into fields. So now remember we outlined all our fields in our operation, and now we're going to drop our crop plans, which are going to show up over here on the left, into our fields. So this, we're almost at harvest. So this piece doesn't make sense at this moment, but as we think about 2021, I take my soybean plan to wherever it is, and I drop it onto field 2 here, for example. I'm not going to do it because it'll mess up this poor demo count even further, but that's where I would drop it on, right here, and that's how you plan for the season. So this is perfect winter activities, getting all this information right in here right now. It's not like any of us are going to be going south this year, so it's kind of a nice time to get all this together. And then what that does is that informs the task manager. So we've now built, based on all our puzzle pieces and our land, we put all the puzzle pieces together. We know what our planned costs are going to be. We know what our planned quantities of inputs we're going to need. So we've got all that sitting here, in front of us. And then it informs the task manager. So as soon as those dates start to kick in, there's a task manager. I'm just going to get into that. Here's the main things that are happening right now. Of course, if you were in the earlier parts of this year, you wouldn't be seeing harvesting, you'd be seeing planting. But as I look into this is a major event that's happening right now. I can see that there's some fields that need to be harvested from a soybean perspective, according to my plan, that haven't been assigned to anybody yet. So if I'm the operations manager, so I'm here, interacting and thinking about what does next week look like, I could say, okay, I'm going to select all these and I'm going to assign them. I'm going to assign them to somebody. So I'm going to just assign these. I'm going to pick someone. These are the people that we've entered, right? Remember, we entered the people. So I'm going to assign these to Adam. And Adam, I want Adam to use, let's see what, here's harvesting. Let's use this John Deere. So I'm not going to assign this to Adam because then things will get a little bit crazy in our system, but I would save and close this. And then Adam would get a notification, a work order on his phone. And Adam would see that for next week, based on the date that I put here, that he's assigned these 3 fields to go harvest. And when Adam gets out there, he starts a work order, and maybe this equipment's not available. He's using something else. He updates that in his phone, and he says, okay, Adam and whatever John Deere or other piece of equipment he's using, he says, start the work order now. And so then we're tracking Adam's time, not only Adam, but also the equipment that he's using. And we're able to start getting the actual costs, like I was talking about before, feed into our forecasting picture. When Adam's all done, he says, yes, he's done. Here's the quantity that he's harvested. We also can get harvest data from monitors, of course, that can come in or flow automatically. And we also get the weigh ticket. So this is where, as the operations manager, you say, okay, where's the point of truth? Which one do I want to use? So I see I have a few minutes left, so I'm just going to kind of dive really quickly into some other cool stuff, because now we've got all the data in there, right? You can see how we put all the puzzle pieces in, we've got our plan. We're informing what's actually happening by people like Adam saying, yes, I'm done. Yes, I just delivered against my ADM contract. And so that's kind of the communication piece. But 2 quick things to show you here that I touched on a little bit before. If I want to see a view of this that isn't so high level, like maybe I want to dive into what's going on here field by field, I click in here in the profit analyzer. And I'm able to see when it comes up my different fields. So here I'm sorting by multiple, so I've got multiple fields. I can look at many years or just a couple years. I'll just look at the past couple years for these fields. And I can see very quickly, if I could scroll down, I can see how profitable each of these fields are. So I might feel really good about some of them. I might be a little bit concerned about others. Like for example, this one here, I can see my cash rent is actually costing me more than I'm making. So this might be something I can push back against the landowner, or I can think about, what do I want to do about this? Do I even want to rent that land? Maybe not. Maybe I have got good reasons to keep going with it. So you can play around with this in many ways. You can say, oh, okay, maybe that's just the past couple of years. Let me see a few more years and see what that looks like. And so you're really able to sort and dig and quickly analyze it. And you say, oh, you know what? It actually kind of looks like it's a reoccurring problem. So maybe I really need to think about this or accept it as it is, but at least I have that knowledge of what's happening with this one. Lots of cool stuff you can do here. But with my last couple of minutes, because I do want to leave some time for Q&A, I want to just jump into, I don't know, have I said this is my favorite part before? Because I think what is super cool when we think about, when and how to market, I think this is probably my favorite piece, this contract manager. And so we'll just pull it up. So this is where you would add, whenever you sign a contract, you add a contract here. You enter in all your information, and then that you deliver against that, like with the work order system. So here we go. All right, I'm gonna just focus on soybeans. So I can see that I've got, here's what I got going on with soybeans. I've got 30,000 bushels in a contract, and I've got a whole bunch that's not contracted. God, geez, I better, how am I gonna figure out how to contract or what price I wanna lock in at? So if I play a little what if right here, and I can say, okay, you know what? I know I thought I was gonna get 46 bushels an acre, but I actually got 60 because it was a really great year. So I got 60. So here I can start to see my profit loss based on what I just entered there. And oh, you know what? Someone's going to offer me 950. So here's where I'm at. So I can play around here without, back of an envelope sort of calculation, but I can just start to play around and do some pretty cool stuff that can help me be more informed as to when do I want to lock in based on what I know is going on right now in the operation. So I'm going to stop there. I know I covered a lot of stuff, and it would never be like this if we were one-on-one. It would most certainly be, you and I digging into different pieces that are helpful and kind of getting into it a bit more. But this is just like high level, what it's all about, and some of the, I guess, things that excite me about what it can do. So with that, I've got my buddy Nicole here. And Nicole, I don't know if there's any questions, or I know we only have a few minutes left, so.
Yeah, thank you, Krista. We do have a few minutes for a quick Q&A. So a couple questions did come in. Okay. Maybe you're still on screen share. So maybe if you want to turn off your screen share, okay, if you don't mind. So first question is from Amir from Bustana, wants to know, what kind of crops do you support?
Okay, there's about 80 different crops. So there is a whole list. I could go back and screen share, but maybe I won't do. But there's a lot of different crops. And Amir, if you want to message me directly, we can dig into that, because I think it's like 80 plus. So there's some specific ones that we're thinking about. We can definitely look to see if they're there.
So next question from Veal from Zara Agribusiness Consulting. Says, I see much potential in this. Is this available in Europe as well?
Oh, that's a good question. And it is not available in Europe right now. And I will feed that to our team. It is available in North America and Brazil, and I believe Australia. So it's as we kind of grow and expand and think about different languages and how do we support that properly. I know it's it's on the radar. And I can, if Sarah wants to reach out to me directly, I can connect her with folks that are thinking about planning about that.
So just wondering, like, what's the size of your business, and are you expanding and growing? Like, do you see a lot more opportunity in the future?
With Granular Business?
Yeah.
I think there's a ton of opportunity. Like, it is growing and expanding. Even someone like me sitting here in Sombra, Ontario, I wasn't here before, and I certainly wasn't focused on this, but our team, so our Canadian Granular team, continues to expand and grow, and we're always bringing new people on as we really think, how do we make best use of this in kind of our area, and find the right grower for this, because we don't want to push this on people. It takes some interaction, right? It takes some curiosity. So we want to be sure we push it in the right direction, but it is most certainly growing and has been building in the States. Like Canadians, we always get used to things starting in the States first, right? And then they come here. I like to think they troubleshoot stuff for us, and then we bring it here.
Okay. One more question from Daniel at Olds College. Is all the information inputted by the user, or does it pull information from external sources? Or do you have customer support people entering the data for producers?
Actually, that is a really good point that I didn't get a chance to mention. So thank you for asking that, Daniel. We have a number of different ways for data to come in. Like I talked a little bit about machine data, or also being updated from mobile apps. We have customer support people that can enter data for us if, for example, you don't have someone on staff that can do that. So that is available. As a way of getting all the information in. USB, we can bring machine data in that way. Import from Excel, like a lot of different ways of inputting. But I just want to reiterate, and I think I mentioned briefly with my colleague Jace, there's a great group of people that are here to support us. And Jace supports us in Canada. He knows our business, he knows us. And so he is there for us to kind of help make the right decisions and make the best use of Granular Business.
Okay, last question, Jason from Alberta Agriculture and Forestry. Is Granular Business eligible for any grants?
Oh, I don't know. I would like to know that. I'd like to know that, Jason. I hate to say, if Jason wants to message me directly, I will find that out for him, because that is it's a great question. And that's my dog drinking water in the background, in case you think there's like waterfalls happening.
All right, well, thank you, Krista. I think we'll wrap it up there. On behalf of Farms.com, I just really want to thank you for being here today. We appreciate you taking the time to speak at our conference. So if anybody has any more questions or would like to get in touch with Krista, please use the Feed Loop networking session or email her directly, and they'll be in touch. Great.
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn too. I think I'm the only Krista Klompstra in the world. It's one of those benefits, I guess, of having a crazy name like that. So I'm on LinkedIn if that's easier.
All right. Thanks a lot, Krista, and have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.